If you're looking for an off-grid or a grid-tied with battery backup solution, then you need to take a look at the new EG4 FlexBOSS line of inverters. They offer nearly all the top features of the top all-in-one systems at a fraction of the price.
The smarter way to go solar.
All right, now in today's video, we're looking at the EG4 FlexBOSS line of hybrid inverters. And I know a lot of you out there have been asking us to do more EG4 content. We're going to have a lot more content on EG4's products coming out this year. Now, the new hybrid inverter line for 2025 is called the FlexBOSS, and it comes in two sizes, the FlexBOSS18 and the FlexBOSS21. And this is basically replacing the older 18K PV hybrid inverter. I'm going to tell you what's changed and what's stayed the same, but EG4 has made a number of enhancements to increase power and capacity and also lower the cost and simplify the installation. Now, I think you're going to find that this type of hybrid inverter is excellent for self-directed installations. And I think many, many more of you are going to be choosing to go the self-directed route as opposed to hiring a turnkey full-service solar company. As I've mentioned in previous videos, the solar industry is going through a massive shakeup right now, and many of the full-service solar contractors or solar installation companies are probably not going to be in business 12 months from now. We just lost the tax credit. We know that that's going to be going away at the end of this year, the residential tax credit. And so an alternate way to get your solar installed is to do it in a self-directed manner. And so what I mean by self-directed is you as the homeowner essentially take on the role of project manager. You purchase the equipment directly. You can purchase EG4 equipment at Signature Solar and at other solar distributors. And then basically you will hire subcontractors or skilled tradespeople as needed. So you might hire an electrician to make a few high voltage connections for you. You might hire a roofer to help with the solar panel mounting, but you are basically going to be taking control of that project yourself. And of course, this approach could save you thousands of dollars compared to hiring a traditional solar contractor. Now, the EG4 FlexBOSS still uses the low voltage modular architecture. So this is a 48 volt nominal system, and you could pair it with any other 48 volt nominal battery. Of course, in most cases now, you're probably going to want to just go with the EG4 Power Pro wall mount battery, but you could use this with any other 48 volt nominal battery bank, whether you're talking AGM batteries or, of course, the newer, more popular chemistry of lithium iron phosphate. Now, depending on how you want to design your solar system, you could start with an off-grid or with a zero export system to keep your permitting and overhead and cost down. So when I talk about an off-grid or a zero export system, basically what that means is that you would be able to consume solar and battery power within the home, but you would not be exporting or selling back any of your excess solar to the power company. So we would call that, if you're truly off the grid, we would call that an off-grid system where there's no connection to the electric grid at all. Or we might call it a zero export system if the grid is there, but you have your system set up to want to self-consume as much of your own solar and battery as possible and only draw from the grid as a last resort if the battery's getting too low. So if you want to set up in that configuration, FlexBOSS is excellent because compared to the previous generation 18K PV, they've actually stripped out a lot of the unnecessary cost. So the old 18K PV inverter had an integrated internal 200 amp transfer switch, so you could switch between grid and off-grid mode. You don't have that in the FlexBOSS. Now that feature is available in the GridBOSS if you do want to go grid interactive, but if you want to keep things simple and keep costs low for an off-grid or a backup only type configuration, you can do that with the FlexBOSS, either the 18 or the 21, without having to incur the additional cost of that 200 amp transfer switch. Now, even if you're running in off-grid mode or standalone mode, you do still have the generator input option. So the FlexBOSS natively does have an AC input. If you're not going to use that to input grid power, you can use it to input generator power. And of course, for those of you who are preparing for a true prolonged grid down event or to run truly off the grid, I always recommend having that generator backup option. That way, if you hit a patch of bad weather where the solar panels can't keep up with recharging the batteries fast enough, you have a backup option where you can run your fuel burning generator. Just run the generator for a few hours. While it's powering the house, it'll be recharging the batteries. and then you can shut your generator off and go back to running off of solar and battery power. So it helps you stretch your fuel supply, stretch your running time, and make sure that you're not left totally stranded without power in the event of prolonged inclement weather. All right, let's take a look at the comparison between the two models. All right, so as I mentioned, the new FlexBOSS comes in two sizes, the FlexBOSS18 and the FlexBOSS21. Now, in terms of solar input, the FlexBOSS18 can use up to 18 kilowatts of solar input. Although you could connect up to 24 kilowatts of nameplate rated solar panels, it's going to be able to utilize up to 18 kilowatts. The 18 model has 2 MPPT channels. And in terms of power output, the FlexBOSS18 will provide 13 kilowatts continuous output if solar power is present, and 10 kilowatts continuous output if having to run off the battery alone. Now, the FlexBOSS21 gives you a little bit higher capacity in each category. So the FlexBOSS21 can make use of up to 21 kilowatts of PV input. Again, you can go up to 24 kilowatts connected nameplate, but you can use up to 21 kilowatts. You also get an extra MPPT string with the FlexBOSS21. So you can go up to 3 MPPT, and I should say channels, 3 MPPT channels where you can configure up to 5 strings. In terms of AC output, you get an additional 3 kilowatts of continuous output, up to 16 kW when solar is present, and then when running off the battery alone, you get up to 12 kilowatts output with the FlexBOSS21. You know, folks, for me, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and pay the couple $100 extra to get the extra capacity with the FlexBOSS21. It'll give you a little bit extra room to grow. But if you know that these limits are much more than what you might ever need for a smaller off-grid project, you can save even more by going with the smaller FlexBOSS18. And remember, you're also saving because you don't have that 200 amp transfer switch in there if you don't need it. Now, if you do decide to go grid interactive with your system, maybe you live in an area where you can take advantage of a net metering program and you want to be able to export excess solar and sell it to the power company, then you're likely going to be pairing the FlexBOSS with the GridBOSS. Now, the GridBOSS is EG4's all-in-one intelligent transfer switch and bypass system. So what this will allow you to do is it'll give you a full 200 amp bypass and pass-through, so you can have your system hooked up to the grid, still have the entire house on solar and battery backup. But it does give you that bypass option. So in the event that you have to take out and service the inverter, you can just bypass the house back onto grid power so you don't have to have the homeowner sitting there in the dark while you try to repair or replace a defective inverter. Plus, it gives you a dedicated generator input. So when you use GridBOSS, you can have a dedicated AC generator input as well as having the AC connection to the power grid at the same time. And then finally, GridBOSS gives you intelligent load control on up to 4 circuits. So let's say if you need to reject certain heavy loads when running in battery backup mode, those loads can be moved into GridBOSS and programmed to automatically shed when you enter backup mode to make sure that you can stretch your running time for your most critical appliances when running on battery backup power. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a 48 volt nominal system. So when you're using FlexBOSS, you can use pretty much any 48 volt nominal battery, but in most cases, you're gonna pair it with the EG4 Power Pro battery. In fact, I had a chance to get a hands-on walkthrough of the entire EG4 lineup as depicted here at the Intersolar Conference earlier this year. And I'd like to share some of that interview with you here now. All right, let's focus on the inverter now. So It looks like the central part of the solution here is the new FlexBOSS21 inverter.
Yes.
For those that aren't as familiar with this product specifically, let's walk through all the basic functions and the basic specs. So first of all, what is the main function of this hybrid inverter, this FlexBOSS21?
Well, it's the all-in-one center of the system. So it integrates generator power, solar power, whether that's AC coupled microinverters or DC strings at 600 volts, and it outputs the backup power for a home in a backup situation, as well as ties into the grid. So the function there is a real energy independence box. We're making these now in Texas, actually, and one of the things that we were able to do was, I think, build really one of the first 5-ton air conditioner ready solutions with 190 rotor lock amps right out of the box. So this is really just the independence center of your house. The 21's our bigger unit, and it's called a 21 because it can handle up to 21 kilowatts of solar, going to multiple different outputs, whether that's batteries or AC for the house, etc.
Okay, so you up to 21 kilowatts
Yes.
DC input on the solar side.
Yes.
Okay, what are we looking at in terms of power output, secure backup power to the house?
Yeah, so 16 kilowatts of AC power
Okay.
when solar's present. When it's just batteries at night, it's about 14.5 kilowatts for 10 minutes and continuous 12 kilowatts. So we've got some good long-term surge there on the nighttime usage and a lot of extra available daytime power. So that's something that's significantly sturdier than some of the options that we're seeing. And it's kind of an all-in-one unit. We think, again, most homes, this is 90% plus case use for most homes, so it's enough power to run it.
We're looking at the new EG4 FlexBOSS18.
Yeah, so this is a FlexBOSS inverter series. We have a 21, which is the most powerful hybrid inverter on the market. It's 48 volts. And we had a lot of customers who wanted just a more entry-level size. This is actually very popular in the islands and some of the smaller off-grid setups. So this is about $700 cheaper than the FlexBOSS21. Again, we're making it in our Commerce, Texas factory as we're speaking. And the unit is called a FlexBOSS18 because it can handle 18 kilowatts of solar input. Of course, the nameplate can be higher, but that's the utilizable 18.
Okay.
It outputs 13 kilowatts AC when the sun is present, up to 13. It pulls 10 kilowatts from the batteries, charges the batteries up to 10 kilowatts at a time. And again, it's just at a lower cost point, lower entry level for these installation-based systems. You can parallel. Some people are going to also find that there may be a larger installation where 2 18s is the way they need to go versus 121. So it's fully compatible with the GridBOSS system. And also with the GridBOSS system, you'll find that you can mix different sizes. So we can mix a FlexBOSS18 and a FlexBOSS21. So we thought this was a really important building block. It's a clear price point that we could reduce to the customer in that $3,500 retail range. Installers are buying for less, of course. And it allows us to do the one battery systems, still significantly competitive with even Tesla.
Interesting. Okay. Now, for those who are new to the product, can you kind of walk us, what are the basic functions that the hybrid inverter does?
Yeah, I mean, check it out. Looks real familiar with the 21. It's got a grid input and a load output. It doesn't have a dedicated generator input because if you're using it off grid, you just use the generator in the grid port. It's got much better power to clean up that generator sine wave anyway and protect your electronics. If you're using it in your house, with a grid connection, you're going to hook the generator up to the GridBOSS, so that's covered. It has an optional touchscreen. It's about $100 more that you plug in if you want to use it. If you want that feature, obviously you can full control the inverter on the app and the web portal. So if you're an EPC deploying a lot of these systems everywhere, you might not want to put a screen as a point of failure. But for the homeowner who likes that or off-grid system size, we're ready for those applications as well. It's got a battery input, battery breaker.
And it says 48 volt nominal battery, right?
Yes, and one thing about it is it's also CRD PCS certified, so you can land either the FlexBOSS18 or the FlexBOSS21 on someone's breaker panel without having to do a panel upgrade. We just put the CTs on that breaker panel, and it will make sure that you never over amperage the bus. So that's a UL that was designed to save everybody a lot of money on installation.
Excellent. Now, I know we have it here sort of depicted with the EG4 Power Pro battery. What other batteries would this inverter be compatible with?
So we're compatible with a few other ones. There's a stackable battery system that I think that also Outback Power is working on with us. It'll be a good option for the smaller modules. And we're also, I think there's actually some overlap on the other guys into like Fortress, the other stuff they'll talk. But I think the other thing to remember, this is why we do batteries and inverters, is to get a full UL 9540, you really need to integrate with that, and it's a big investment. So for us, we're only paying for the 9540s for the batteries that we build, so that we can cost control the system and quality control the system. Remember, the EG4 battery integrated with these inverters allows you to monitor the battery itself and every cell and update the firmware. So staying in the EG4 ecosystem is our core target, but if somebody already has a particular battery, we can communicate with about 12 different ones out there.
All right, James, so we're looking at the GridBOSS. Tell us, what does the GridBOSS do if you wanted to add this or you wanted to make an off-grid system more grid interactive?
Oh, absolutely. So the GridBOSS, again, was moving our 200 amp box out of the FlexBOSS so we can make the FlexBOSS more powerful and lower cost for our customers.
Okay.
So for off-grid customers. And then we took that $2,000 that everyone was spending at the hardware store on all the safety devices, and we put it in the GridBOSS. And so it actually, it solves the interconnection aspect of if you're connecting to the grid, and then it solves a lot of other problems. So the GridBOSS is out to solve is, I think, about 5 or 6 core issues, and then of course the 7th issue of the integration with the grid. So on the top of it, if I open the door here, Joe, we have 4 smart ports, and these, by the way, are directly integrated to the EG4 app. So there's no kind of bridging or additional integrations you have to do, like with some other like compatibility partners. This is our smart grid solution. We have a 125, a 80, a 60, and a 60, and these are triggered by whether or not solar's on, battery state of charge, inverter wattage, so we can also protect in case you've got a load that might trip the total power of your inverter. It can actually help you get through a situation where maybe you have occasional shedding. I like to tell people if their inverter is borderline on size, put your if you have a tank water heater, put that as one of the load shedders. So that way, when the wattage gets super high, it just kind of interrupts power for a few minutes while that peak's happening. So there's that option. Or we have backup situations on the load shed side. I think you've watched in the solar industry, everyone started running to batteries, and a lot of those EPCs are just coming to the realization that when they add batteries, they're taking responsibility not just for cutting the power bill, but for actually backing up these families.
Backing up the home, yeah.
And what happens there is that they'll come in and design a system without load shedding, and they'll tell the customer, oh, you have to cut this load or this load in a backup situation to manage it. And the customers don't remember those commitments. The customers aren't doing it at 2 in the morning, and so now it's creating a huge number of truck rolls if you're not load shedding. So we saw it as an issue, and so we were like, we're just going to build that in as part of the money, as part of what you're getting. So we fixed the microgrid aspect of transfer switches and everything, but we threw in 4 circuit breaker solutions with control that I think is like competitively about $2,000 problem we solved right there, adding value on the stack. What it also is the parallel location for the inverters. And this was the other problem with hybrid inverters. You have to buy an input breaker panel, an output breaker panel, and a bunch of 100 amp breakers to add multiple inverters. And the GridBOSS solves that problem. You can add up to 63 kilowatts of solar or 48 kilowatts of AC on the same box without paying for a single input or output breaker panel. So I think on a 2 inverter system, compared to the old design, that's $1,000 of savings, adding a second inverter. So it's a parallel hub. It also is the input-output manager for the house. And so all these inverters used to have a sending wire from the grid and a return wire to the house.
Right.
If you use a 200 amp inverter, for every foot you move away from the meter, Joe, this might be surprising, it's $60 a foot to run 3/0 wire from
Just
the meter to the inverter and back to the meter. Well, remember how we've got this device set up with a single wire connection at 6 gauge or 4 gauge, so maximum you're spending $6 a foot instead of $60 to move your batteries wherever you want to put them as a homeowner or as an installer serving your client. I've got people who want the stuff 50 feet away from the meter, 100 feet away from the meter. Like that adds up to $6,000, $7,000 of wiring. People can't afford that. So this solves that problem in a way that, I think some of the other hub inverters did. We brought that solution out on the hybrid side.
What are some of the other functions that the GridBOSS supports here? I see a bypass.
The manual bypass, that changes your 200 amp transfer switch is built into this solution. And it also has the generator integration built on here. So you can add in a separate generator directly into here. You can load shed here, and you can also AC couple. So you can do all 3 at once. So whatever the customer needs, whatever you're looking for as a homeowner, this is a solution for everything.
So this has been a walkthrough of the new EG4 FlexBOSS line of hybrid inverters. By the way, if you have solar installed with an EG4 FlexBOSS hybrid inverter because of content that you saw on Solar Surge, leave a comment down below. We'd like to hear from you. Of course, like with all of our other videos, if you're getting good value, make sure you hit that thumbs up button to tell the algorithm to show you more videos like this. And also consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. That way, as we have new presentations like this coming out, it'll come up on your feed and you can stay up to date with everything. Now, of course, if you're a homeowner and you're in the process of looking at different solar and battery storage options for your home, pretty much now is the time to do it if you want to take advantage of that full 30% tax credit while it's still in effect this year. And of course, if you're looking for a quote from a contractor, or maybe you're looking to just get in touch with contractors and do more of a self-directed installation, as always, you can reach out to us on the link below here, set up a call with one of our experts, or just use the free online calculator tool to see how much solar and battery storage costs in your area. But that pretty much does it for today's video. I thank you all for spending some more time on the Solar Surge channel. And as always, I'm Joe Ordia here, encouraging you to get prepared and be empowered. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.